Take care, Nero.
Adios.
I won't lose next time. Hold on to that until then.
Welcome everyone to some quick goddamn ideas for Devil May Cry 6 that have been opinionated, written, illustrated on my mind, and I'm here to share everything I've been brainstorming so far for quite some time now. It goes without saying there will be spoilers present in this video in case you haven't beat DMC 5 yet, and honestly I don't see why you haven't embarked on that crazy ass journey with the local Yahoo man. Don't expect this video to be super brief, but I'll do my best to explain what needs to be done for Devil May Cry 6 to keep that fun factor pumping. This is my personal list of inclusions that I would love to see for DMC 6, which ironically includes 6 things right off the bat. Number 1, more movesets for multiple characters. If I were to assume what's next for a potential Devil May Cry 5 sequel, then I think there's no going back to one sole character. We're dealing with Virgil, Nero, and Dante, and as such, I think the only way to make a hack and slash shine is to give us more weapons to play with. Everyone should keep their moveset from DMC4 SC and DMC5 respectively, with the addition of new content. Give Nero at least 3 devil arms on top of the special mechanical arm that was given by Nico at the end of DMC5. Give Virgil concentration back on top of the new summon sword techniques that they can play with, like roll fork. Let Dante remain how he is, but add in all the devil arms that you could possibly give him on top of styles on the fly, and maybe bring back some returning styles like Doppelganger. I can see how Dante pawned off some of his devil arms to get money for the establishment known as Devil May Cry. However, he does have King Cerberus, so why not go back and fight other creatures to get stronger and get those weapons before Devil May Cry 6 starts. I can never understand as well why Dante unlearned magic. That makes no sense to me. I never understood that at all. Nero now has V's magic book that was given to him at the end of DMC5. Instead of letting something like that go to waste, they could always incorporate the summoning system back to Nero, since he's been actively reading it while also putting it behind an established DPS character that has a better playstyle than V. Number 2, the presence of multiple campaigns. Speaking of multiple characters, we need multiple campaigns. I already talked about this in my DMC5 review, but I feel like this haphazard structure of changing characters throughout a single narrative really needs to go away for Devil May Cry for good. Everyone should have their own distinct campaign, just like RE6 and Tenchu 2 did. 3 characters with their own unique weapons, boss fights, encounters, and crossovers. In order to give us that incentive of playing with all 3 campaigns, you don't unlock the true final battle until you finish the game with all 3 characters. With this method of game design, it'll allow you to play as whoever you want first and discover what makes each different pathway so unique to that character. You don't have to wait all the way until mission 10 to play as Dante. You don't have to wait all the way until mission 20 to play as Virgil. You have them available right there whenever you want to play with them first or last, and I really like this choice of game design. Freedom is always important in DMC combat, and the option to pick characters should be always a free choice for each player to pick between. If I were to sprinkle in some extra flavor, I would say keep the currency shared between all characters, so if you amass a bunch of orbs as Virgil, you can play as Dante and use those orbs to unlock movesets for him, and it won't feel like that much of a grind to unlock the full movesets for each character. I liked when DMC5 did that. They should keep that current even with multiple campaigns. Number 3, fleshing out the co-op system with the invite system and optional choices to play alone. I'm confident that if Isuno does go into this direction where co-op is the next evolution of Devil May Cry with team-based attacks and all that fancy stuff, then the options need to become more meaty to make it better for everyone. Some people just don't want to play with people online, so make sure that we could have the ability to mute mics, have private parties, and create an invite system to make this easier on top of having solo options in case people want to play alone. I think a good choice for that is the ability to have ghost guests again, so the AI could just take over for the secondary character if this really is a tale about Dante and Virgil being together. Diverging pathways was a great idea in DMC5 along with the 3-player co-op that was included into the mix, so those battles should be a little bit more frequent than normal if you have multiple characters come together. This should be a thing that is capitalized on in certain stages of the sequel. This would be the ideal DMC game for single player and online or local co-op, so you can play however you want with a buddy. Number 4, reintroducing bonus features. So it has come to the knowledge of me and mostly every Devil May Cry fan that the series has always been known for replaying the campaign multiple times on harder difficulties. This is where the replay value lies. However, DMC5 clearly left certain things on the cutting room floor, like an absence of costumes or moves from previous games. I would bring back costume choices for all 3 characters and even bring in coatless variants from DMC3. If we're going to be on the next generation platforms with a game like this, then I would imagine that the PlayStation 5 has more than enough horsepower to handle things like Legendary Dark Knight and Turbo Mode to satisfy those people who want to play the game with extra modifiers. Not only that, but the proclaimed Divergence mode, which was a rumor for DMC5, could be elaborated on as an idea for DMC6. Just think about it. If we're going to have branching pathways and all new stages for different characters, then it would be awesome to be able to swap characters, like Virgil being on a Pacific stage that was tailor-made for Dante or Nero. Just add in the addition of no cutscenes if you swap out a character that isn't Pacific to that stage, like it was in DMC3 with Virgil. Maybe they could have particular secrets if you decide to swap out characters on a Virgil-centric stage with Dante or Nero and vice versa. The possibilities are endless with something like Divergence mode. Number 5, creating 2 DLC packs to keep the community invested. I totally didn't mind the notion of Devil May Cry being held as a completed game, but it is true that the potential wasn't realized with the things they could have done to keep players invested with post-game affairs. They always could have done DLC. There is no disputing that. The sales of DMC5 proved that people didn't mind more in the package, so Capcom really should throw a bone for Devil May Cry 6 with 2 potential DLCs for the next iteration of Devil May Cry. Both of these DLCs will range from an 8-hour to 10-hour expansion in my mind, and they will be centered around particular events that shape the story of DMC6. The first one will be based around Sparda and his full rebellion against Mundus's generals. It will be distinctively labeled as DMC6 DLC Sparda's Vengeance. The second one is an idea from the rumor mill that circulated around DMC5 with Ladies Night. My version would tailor around the lore perspective that I'm going to delve into in a minute. What were Trish, Lucia, and Lady doing before they finally meet up with Dante, Nero, and Virgil in a reverse Tim and Negru? We'll find out in that second DLC pack called DMC6 DLC Ladies Night, which will have 4 playable characters in total. You have Trish, Lucia, Lady, and Sparda. Remember, 4 playable characters, multiple costumes, multiple hours of playtime because you can replay these stages and do them on harder difficulties, achievements, and capping both DLC packs off with a total of 20 hours that adds on to the core experience. That would be superb. Number 6, giving a proper finale to the Sons of Sparda arc. Alright, I'm saving my best for last here with some fan fiction it seems, but bear with me. Okay, remember there was this particular rumor with Devil May Cry 5 saying that it was going to conclude the Sons of Sparda arc. The thing that made this rumor absolutely weird was the fact that the pictures were legitimate, but the press release statement in the article was certainly false. What if we took those implications from that fabricated article and applied them to DMC6? I know the first thing that pops in your mind immediately is a blood vessel, the blood-curdling assumption that this series should end with the final entry being DMC6. Listen guys, I don't want Devil May Cry to end with this iteration, however, I want something refreshing. I do want some higher stakes in the lore, ending with a major character death or a minor character death, so Insuno can finally pass the torch to the next Demon Slayer in the Sparda bloodline. We've seen this all being alluded to with Nero's relation to Sparda, the long-lasting legacy of Sparda's actions, Eva's death, causing the Sons of Sparda to impact each other differently with their lives and their differing ventures as they went on darker or lighter paths, and Dante even muttering a certain line that shows that his own son could potentially be a future protector if Mundus decides to come back to the human world.
Dante, I will return, and I will rule this world.
Goodbye. And when you do come back, give my regards to my son, will ya?
Regardless of the significant praise that I gave Devil May Cry 5, I felt that the stakes were diminished when you realize that no one really died near the end game of Devil May Cry 5. I would raise the stakes even further for DMC6. Hell, kill off one of the ladies, make Dante or Virgil mad, do something to get the ball rolling on this emotional roller coaster as Dante and Virgil would make new discoveries in the underworld as they fight together, but realize there is a new heir to the throne now who wants to take over. I feel like it would be a badass idea if Mundus had a son of his own that appeared before the rest of the Sparda bloodline that resembled his own father, and there would also be a new commander who looks similar to Lady Demon. She would be one of the main generals who had a hand in Eva's death in the past, prompting some of those DLC bits with Sparda, making Dante and Virgil hate her also immediately. Let's just call them Lucifer and Demonica for now. Once again, this new power trip would defeat Dante and Virgil easily, banishing them from the demon world and preparing an invasion to wake Mundus and finally destroy everything else that the brothers ever loved as an act of revenge. Lucifer even gives them an ultimatum. You have 1 month to say goodbye to everyone you ever cared about before I wipe them off the face of the earth. That's just some badass shit to say to someone as you're about to like exterminate their whole family. That would be some cold villain shit, right? So this is the threat that the brothers take very seriously. Let's get one long training montage later, and Dante, Virgil, Nero, Trish, Lucia, and Lady gather up for one final conclusion in Lucifer's reverse Tim and the Gru, which is under the ground. It's like an underground palace. So it's kind of a callback to like DMC3, but it's also cool in the sense that it's a reverse level. So it kind of reminds you of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where everything is like upside down, and I think that would make for some cool stage design in DMC. Anyway, the reason why I drafted this idea in my head is because it would be a revenge story that gives Dante and Virgil something to do. The brothers feel unaccomplished for preventing Eva's death, so why wouldn't they fight one last time against the entities that caused them grief against their own bloodline or actions? Mundus' son would have a reason to go against Dante for sailing away and supposedly killing his father before discovering that he could be brought back to the human world. I did rip some elements from the DMC reboot because Mundus did have a son there, but he was mostly pointless in that game and he got killed off and he was a boss. So I think it would actually mean something in the original timeline, making him pertinent to the story, even doing something major and landing a fatal blow on Dante as he saves Virgil in one pivotal scene. I think that they should mostly allude to the fact of Dante dying in this game while passing on his genes after that first month when Lucifer told him to run. The goal of this is symbolizing the idea of passing on life, understanding how life is a gift, and even noticing that while this mission is suicidal, while this mission is impossible, there's always hope in the future. Dante being with Lucia makes the most sense to me since her heartfelt feelings for the character has been conveyed several times in Before the Nightmare. The final battle would be Virgil and Nero finally settling their differences and working together to defeat Demonica and Lucifer in this big extravagant co-op fight that is father and son levels of awesome. I think the ending should be a win-lose situation for the heroes. While Demonica and Mundus' son will be defeated, it will appear as if the ceremony to bring his father back remains ultimately successful, and his father has a set time for appearing later on in the future as he, tries to get to the human world. I think Mundus should come back after a certain point. Lucifer smiles at the fact that his father will eventually come back one day, and he finally dies to Virgil and Nero's hands. Nero then learns of Lucia's pregnancy in a post-credit scene, and he promises he'll teach his brother everything he knows before he has to deal with Mundus again. Once again, the torch will be effectively passed to a future devil hunter. It will create a future threat of Mundus returning to the human world someday. Virgil decides to not stay in the demon world for the second post-credit scene, wanting to finally catch up with the son who wanted him to come back. I think it would make better sense to have this scene like somewhere where Nero and Virgil are having a vacation in Fortuna. Virgil then remembers his own monologue in Devil May Cry 5 when he pondered about Dante giving his life for him and crying that he lived up to that promise.
That day, if our positions were switched, would our fates be different? Would I have your life and you mine? Let's settle this. Dante.
He finally realizes that Dante would have done everything to get strong and save Virgil in the past if the roles were reversed, if Ava found Virgil first instead of Dante in the past. Nero asks Virgil the signature "Are you really crying?" question before his father just brushes it aside and says devils never cry, possibly thinking about retirement by the time a new threat arises. This would close off the story of Dante and Virgil leaving their own sons to deal with a future encounter for Devil May Cry 7. It would also subvert expectations that Nero and Dante's son would grow up to hate each other since they live in a peaceful harmony without the death of a mother splitting them up. If you defeated 100 demons, then you get this final epilogue where 10 years have passed and you see a giant throne room in the underworld. The room is littered with piles upon piles of corpses all over the place. As the assailant takes a seat on the pile of corpses with a hood on, it is revealed to be none other than Dante, who miraculously survived the attack from Mundus' son. He survived the fatal blow, but his body was dormant. We know Dante was sort of knocked out before, and the Qyphoth gave him strength as it took him time to recover over the time that DMC5 happened. You know the lingo. He has crimson red veins on his face now. Dante has crimson red veins and an imploded scar on his chest, similar to something like Evil Ryu. It's clear that Mundus' son did infect Dante with his power, and he could become a potential vessel for mind control with the curse left upon him if Mundus does ever return. This scene is done to illustrate that Dante could potentially follow the same dark path as Virgil with no control over his mind, but all of a sudden Yamato stabs into the throne full of bodies near Dante's head. Virgil appears and he scolds Dante for not coming back to see his kid while he still has some subconscious punches left. Virgil says Dante looks stupid with black hair now, which is another jab at the DMC reboot. Dante explains the only way to keep demons at bay is by destroying them on their home turf, which illustrates that Dante has been the new king of hell for quite some time now. He explains that he faked his death in order to bring out Virgil and Nero's power levels in a positive way without their demonic side fully taking control of them. I don't know though, I'm making this up as I go along. Let's just say that if you go full demonic and you're half demon, then that has bad consequence on you because you can't control your power. But if you are purified, your human side, if you bring that out more due to love and anguish, and that love, you know, is on top of everything, then you enter this purification state where you have more power and you mix the demonic power and the human power. I don't know. I just want to work out a way where going full demon, bad thing. If you give in more to your human emotions and you understand that there's something worth protecting, then you get more powerful, and as a result you don't lose your mind, you just get more fucking strong. That's how the good guys will win in this situation. You can't say angelic side because angels don't exist in the Devil May Cry verse as far as the OG verse goes. So yeah, it's all correlating back to that line of DMC4 where Dante said that humans have something that demons don't. Going full demon, you lose that human element. If you give into your human nature, if you give into a state of selflessness, then you would be stronger because of it. And I think that should be some untapped power level in Devil May Cry. I don't know how it will work, but I'm sure someone would have a better idea than me in that regard. Honestly, I think Street Fighter is a good way to explain this, right? You have the Sasui no Hado, which clearly made Evil Ryu, and then you have the power of nothingness, which is a light energy that could be used to the person's advantage and make them stronger. You have the person that is more calm, which is the human side, and you have the person that is a bit more evil in intent, which is the demonic side that wants to kill, and maybe it affects their mind. You know, I don't know how that would work, but like I said, Street Fighter would be a good way of explaining something like that. Here's good, here's bad. Too much of it will make you either really good or really bad, depending on your actions. I completely reeled this from Yu Yu Hakusho when Yusuke had to see a friend die in order to bring out his inner strength, because love has always been a big factor in DMC. So, why wouldn't it factor into Virgil and Nero's strength potentially increasing due to the fake death that Dante had by Mundus' hand? He would still be infected, and like I said, we would still set that story up where Dante could potentially turn. You know, it would create Dark Dante in a sense, and that would be cool. Dark Dante would be starting to come into the storyline, but we have to deal with this post-credit scene now, fam. So, here we go. Virgil then alludes to the fact that me and you aren't getting any younger, implying that Dante and Virgil's bodies might not be useful by the time Mundus decides to invade, because they are getting older and they do age like humans, you know. The scene then ends with Virgil leaping towards Dark Dante in an effort to save him. Their fate and resolution remains unknown as the game ends there. One little side note I forgot to mention is that I do think the idea of a full power demon form making the user lose control of themselves should come into fruition if they decide to go full demonic in Devil May Cry 6. It was teased that severely in the lyrics of Subhuman by Michael Barr, but it never really got played up for any emotional effect, any emotional perspective in the lore. I love to see a scene where Dante just goes full power because something happens to him and he goes absolutely berserk when you realize his mind can't really control it. It would seem like it would be best utilized if he's knocking around Mundus' son while he laughs at it. I think a good way to convey that as well is becoming full demon and losing that human element. It would be out of an act of desperation. So imagine being desperate enough because you're going to die or someone else dies and you're trying to stop them from doing bad things. I think that would be a nice little emotional play up if they decide to do that. Anyway, that's my story of DMC6, and that's how I would write it if I was at the helm. Obviously I'm not at the helm, but that's how I would possibly do it. And I wonder if you guys like are vibing it or liking it, if you think it's decent, if you think it's bad. Hey, just let me know how you feel in the comment section below. How do you think the Sons of Sparda arc should really end? Anyway, this is Renegade Operative signing off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my 6 ideas of things I personally want to see in Devil May Cry 6. Remember, it's all opinion piece based. I hope you guys had a good time with this video. Once again, it was long, but I felt it was necessary to get all my ideas out as soon as possible. This was a small side project turned into a big time video for the channel, and once again, I hope you guys really enjoy it. Remember to slap that like button, subscribe, check out all my socials in the description below, and at this splash screen, be sure to follow me if you really enjoy my content. And once again, I appreciate if you share me out. That helps me out a lot. I will see you guys next time. Once again, I love Devil May Cry. I love it. I fucking love expressing thoughts about this series, and hopefully I can do it more in the future in this format. Once again, take care, see you later, and as always, be good people. Peace out, and once again, bang bang, we rolling, baby. See ya.